Hello, welcome back to the Business of Business with the City of Omaha. I'm Jared Anderson, the Economic Equity and Inclusion Program Administrator.
And I am Christian Espinosa, the Small and Emerging Business Program Administrator.
Today, we're honored to have our guest from the Planning Department, Anna Bespoyasny. So a little bit about Anna. She has a Bachelor of Science in Architectural Studies from the University of Nebraska at Lincoln. She worked as an architect in the private sector for numerous years. Starting in the Planning Department in 2012 as a building inspector, she moved to the Residential Plan Review in 2014, then onto the Commercial Plan Review in 2016, and then became the Superintendent of Permits and Inspections in 2019. Please welcome our guest to the show. All right, so first things first, we like to always kind of get a feel for what the division really does, what the department does. So could you just kind of tell us what your division does overall, in general?
Sure. Primarily, we deal, well, obviously it's permits and inspections, which includes taking in permit applications. That permit applications could be for building permits, mechanical permits, electrical or plumbing permits. It also encompasses plan review when plans are required for those permits. And so we've got plans examiners that review the plans. We coordinate the routing of the plans to other departments that also need to review those plans. And then we issue the permits when the plans have been approved. And there's also contractor licensing that we deal with and administer several different boards for the department for some of those licensing boards and other administrative boards. So that's it in a nutshell.
In a nutshell, okay.
Yeah. So quick question of when you said like the plans, if I want to have an extension to my house, can I draw myself a map or should I hire an architect?
Well, you could draw it yourself.
Okay.
And you could draw it yourself. There's limits on what a non-registered professional can do. So there's the state has requirements with regards to when plans have to be sealed by an architect or an engineer. So, but for a small house addition, an architect and engineer is not required. You could draw that yourself, but you would still have to adhere to the requirements of what needs to be shown on those plans.
Gotcha.
Okay. Thank you.
So in our department, as far as the small emerging business and the EIP goes, it's typically around contracting with construction. So that's kind of where we're going to focus a little bit on in our questioning today, is more on the permit side, the licensing side for the contractors, I mean. So can you tell us why contractors need a license or they need a permit?
Well, besides the fact that it's just in the law, reasons to do it are to give some assurance that you know what you are doing. There's some level of expertise, if you will, with regards to obtaining that particular license. It identifies you as somebody who wants to do things properly. You want to do things according to the code. By having a license, it indicates that you're familiar with the code, that you probably have access to the different codes that are available. Multiple insurance companies and banks anymore are requiring licensed persons to and permits on things that they would insure or loan money for. So, you know, there's other sources besides just us that might require those licenses too.
So if I want to put some drywall in a house, do I need a license?
For things such as finishes, drywall, painting, wallpaper, flooring, you would not need a license for that work.
Okay. And what about framing?
Framing, you would need a license for.
So what kind of license do I need?
For framing licenses, you would need at least a Class D license. Anymore in the city of Omaha, the Class C would probably be the better option. It would give you the ability to do more than just framing. You could build anything according to the residential code. So that would be 1 and 2 family houses. It could be townhouses. So the Class C license is the one that for residential work would give you the most flexibility.
So we're talking about different letters of license. What kind of licenses do we have? Do we have A to Z or just
No.
no?
Thank goodness.
Yeah, thank goodness.
No, in the city of Omaha, we have 5 building contractor licenses. We have Class A, Class B, Class C, Class D, and Class E. Class E is the one that has no testing requirements affiliated with it. And for a Class E license, you can build decks, you can install doors and windows, you can put a roof on, and siding. So it's smaller projects that are afforded by the Class E license. The Class D license is similar in nature. It's a grandfathered license, which is only available for renewal, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that one. But the Class C license is the one that you're required to take a test for the Class C license, and you can do anything covered by the residential code. So that would be the Class C license. When you get into commercial projects, the 2 licenses available for an individual wanting to do commercial work would be the Class B and the Class A. The Class B license will allow you to do any commercial project or any residential project up to 4 stories in height. And the Class A license is kind of the premier license, if you will. It will let you do anything commercial or residential.
Right.
So with the Class C, I can make the addition of the house and I plan it.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And with the Class B, if I am a contractor and I want to build a new fire station, I will require a Class B, correct?
Yes.
If I want to build a Woodman Tower,
You would need a Class A.
okay,
Or if you want to build a Mutual of Omaha tower,
that would be
it
a
would be
Class
a
A.
Class A.
So how, you mentioned, there's certain levels of class or licenses where, like the E, you don't have to do anything. How much do these cost? Where do you go if you want to get the test itself? How do you, as a contractor, know where to go and what to do and maybe
Well-
which one's best for your type of work?
Yeah, first and foremost, I would probably reach out to our department. We can steer you in the right direction. The exams that we require are through the International Code Council, and that's their website is iccsafe.org. And you can get the testing bulletin there, which will let you know. I think the tests are a couple $100. I'd have to double check the current information. They're offered through a testing service, Pearson VUE, and they take several hours to sit and take the test. But I would reach out to our department first, and we can help guide you to the right place.
Perfect.
And are there classes for the testing? There is like the city offer any classes, or there is Metro Community College?
We personally do not offer classes for the testing. I believe on ICC's website, they do have some online testing options. I believe REACH through the Chamber of Commerce is now offering some classes with regards to the different codes and with the idea that the people who sit in the class will ultimately test for the different licenses. So there are other options that are available, but the city of Omaha does not teach for the tests.
Right. Yeah, I think you're right on the REACH thing. They provide some of the materials I think you're talking about too as part of their 10-week course.
So what happens if I am a contractor and I build in a new single-family house and I don't have a license?
Well, that's a problem. What would typically we would what would typically happen is that we would force you or require you to get the class of license for the work that you're performing. There would be a penalty fee of up to 4 times what a normal permit fee would be, and that would be in addition to any criminal penalties that the code allows for us to do.
Not to mention you probably won't have the project anymore, you won't get paid for it, so there's all of that too. So,
Yeah, yeah.
so don't do that. With some of the other things that your department, the planning does, you kind of mentioned outside of the contracting. Is there anything as far as like other permits that contractors should be aware of or would need to have for the type of work that we're talking about?
Well, anytime you're building, typically when you have a building permit, if there's any kind of plumbing or mechanical or electrical work, those different trades have their respective trade permits that you would also pull for any work within the building. And those individuals also have to be licensed to pull those permits.
Okay. So that means that a contractor could not say, hey, we have this project, we're going to redo your basement, we're going to do a new bathroom, but we want the homeowner to pay for that permit. For the plumbing, for example.
Yeah, there are some things that the homeowner is allowed to do.
Okay.
But it's very limited in what they can do because typically we want to make sure that that homeowner has the required skills in order to be able to do some of this work. And there are typically requirements in each of our building codes, whether it be the building or the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing codes, that in order for the homeowner to do work on their own home, they actually have to live there.
Right.
They're not flippers that are doing the work on something that they own.
And they can't hire somebody to do the work but pull the permit for that contractor.
They cannot hire unlicensed people to do the
Gotcha.
work.
Gotcha.
So what happened with companies that they don't have a license, but they as the owners? Like, if I am a contractor and I want to fix your house, and I said to the owner, "Hey, can you go and get your license?" Is that a problem with that?
Yes, that is a problem, and we run into it and try and deal with it. Sometimes it's very difficult to enforce some of these provisions, so we do require a lot of I guess, help from the general public when they come across these situations, and it's the duty of the homeowner to make sure that you're hiring people who are qualified to do the work. So, as a homeowner, you need to do your due diligence, and whether it be with references for individuals that you're hiring, or if you've seen some of their work, but for instance, like right now with all the roofing signs that I have throughout my neighborhood, everybody's getting a new roof. Be very cautious about people who are coming in from out of town that are not licensed here, and it's very difficult to hold those people accountable when they're in one day and out the next. So.
Yeah, definitely. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to kind of get towards the other side of the contracting. So if there is a project with the city, for example, where there's a general contractor and then they have subcontractors, where does the liability fall on for licensing and permits in that relationship? Is it just on the general contractor that has the project? Or is it also something required by the subcontractors as well? How does that relationship work?
Well, typically when it comes to licensing, each contractor has to provide their proof of insurance and proof of bond. And a lot of those contracts, the general contractor typically holds the contract and then he subcontracts to the different trades. And so he's probably collecting, all the payments, and he needs to distribute those to his subcontractors when it's appropriate. But I would say that they're all liable for their particular work, and but you'd have to look at the individual contracts for the respective project to find out ultimately who's, the most liable.
Gotcha.
And another question, like if a company, do I need only one person to hold a license in the company, or every person has to have a license for a particular project?
Well, The city of Omaha is a little bit different than some other jurisdictions. We require that the license is held by the individual. And so as long as the company has one individual that has the license, that's fine. I'm talking building contractor licenses right now. I'm not talking about the trades,
Right.
Yeah.
because they do need a license for
Yes.
them. So I want to clarify.
Good.
But yeah, so the one individual would be fine. And if for some reason a contractor has a situation where their licensed individual moves on to another position with another company, or does something else, there are provisions to grant them a temporary license for, I think it's up to a year, so that they have that opportunity to try and hire somebody new with a license, or somebody else can try and obtain that license.
That's pretty good to know. I had no idea that they could
Yeah.
have a little grace there.
Well, yeah, we try and work with them. So
Absolutely. Do you have any other questions, Christian?
Yeah, and I just want to say, like, a lot of people tell me if they need a license to do concrete work, flat work.
no, we do not require any licenses for concrete work.
Even if it is in a structural for one floor, one residential.
When it's flat work, driveways, sidewalks, roads, we don't require a license for that. When it comes to building foundations, yes, that would require the license.
And that will be the C.
That would be a C for residential
residential.
work, yes.
And B and A for commercial.
Correct.
Depends on the
You're
size of the
getting this.
building.
So come get your E no matter what,
Yeah.
and then decide, where your scope of work is going to be, if you're on
Yeah.
homes or if you're on commercial.
Well, the E is the most affordable because it doesn't require an exam, and it has the lowest fee, so.
Speaking of fees, we didn't really touch on that. Do you know off the top of your head kind of the scale of fees?
I do. I refresh my memory. The Class D and Class E are both $100
Okay.
and that's a 3-year license. All of our building contractor licenses are for 3 years. The Class C is a $200 fee, and the Class A and B are $300.
And at the end of the 3-year period, you just come in and retest, or you just renew?
Well, what's required for renewal is after every 3 years, you have to pay your fee, provide new insurance and bond information whenever that expires. Sometimes the dates are different than when the actual license expires. And then as part of our contractor licensing program, we also require a certificate of CEUs.
Okay.
And so continuing education units. So what is required is 9 CEUs every 3 years. So that's essentially 3 CEUs per year.
Right.
Now, we don't ask for that information to be directly provided to us anymore. What we do is every year we will audit 5%, and then those 5% we will reach out to get their documentation.
How would you get one of those CEUs in this field? Is there?
In this field, there's different professional organizations that offer CEU classes.
Gotcha.
We have it outlined in our municipal code what is available. And so, that's not to say that that's the only things that are available, but, there's so many different CEU classes available that it's typically not a problem.
Gotcha. It's not like something hidden that you have to go search for. There's probably lots of opportunities, it sounds like.
Right.
So, okay.
If anybody has a question, who they call?
They would call me, or they can call the department. There's other people within the department who can answer a lot of questions. But if they have specific questions with regards to the types of classes that would be allowed, that would probably come to me.
Okay.
And what would be a good phone number for that?
Our department is 402-444-5350.
Could you repeat that one more time, please?
402-444-5350.
Perfect. And if there's any other questions on the ICC, what was the website one last time too?
www.iccsafe.org.
All right, I don't have any additional questions for
I
you,
don't
Christian.
either. Yeah.
See, quick and easy. Thank you,
There you
Anna,
go.
for joining us. If you have more questions, obviously reach out to the numbers and check out the website. You can always reach out to Christian and myself, and we can connect you to the right people as well. So for this week's show, or this month's show, I'm Jared Anderson,
And I am Christian Espinosa.
and we just gave you the business of business with the City of Omaha.
Thank
Have
you.
a great day.